And I hear some of the, I'll call them old school loan officers, we've always needed to reinvent ourselves. No, you don't.
No.
If you just keep up with the same tools and don't stop, you're going to be just as good now as you were 10 years ago. Now you might have your opportunity might have opened up, or maybe loan products have opened up. Over the last 10 years, a lot has opened up because of the financial crisis. So there's things to always learn. But you can always find ways to get better. But I haven't had to reinvent myself because I've never let myself go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Contacts to Contracts podcast. I am Bryan Lovell, again with my co-host here, Mr. John Jones, and we have another segment in our Top Producer series this week with Mr. Justin Kelly. Justin, tell us a little bit about your business and your overall team.
All right, so we have approximately 12 team members.
Wow.
I'm the lead branch manager. We have 4 different offices, so we have 5. 3 here locally, 1 in another city in Florida, and then 1 in Boston, Massachusetts.
Right,
So
cool.
Representing the Northeast. I like it.
Got to find it where it is.
Good
That's
old
right.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, where you're from, right?
Yeah, born and raised. So tell us, so now you've got the 5 locations. You've had a phenomenal year. You've closed $160 million as a team. Mm-hmm. How did you start in the business, from day one? What made you decide to get in the mortgage business? And I might know the actual reason, but go ahead. You can tell your story.
I know you want to hear this story because
we need to hear this because this truly is an amazing success story.
Yeah.
So I was in college, working 3 jobs, going to college full time. And the relationship I had, the girlfriend I had at the time, her family owned a real estate company. So, hey, what can I do? Side jobs? Oh, you can mow lawns for the offices they had at the time. Okay, cool. So one day, I don't know, it's summer, sweating, probably 100 degrees out in Florida, and I go in to get some water, and it happened to be in the office. John was a mortgage lender in. And I say, hey, man, I'm sweating. You got a bottle of water?
Looks like you're going to pass out, man. You need something to drink?
I'm dying, man. I'm cutting grass here, making $8 an hour. But so I always told myself I wanted to go through college because I'd be the first immediate family member to do that. And then just anything I ever did, I wanted to be successful. Mm-hmm. Didn't know what it would be because a lot of people go through college and you're like, what do I actually want to do?
Sure.
Did a business major that doesn't really direct you too much into one direction. And then I started, I knew Laura Lynn through our relationships, who you worked for.
Yep.
And asked her, what would it take to do that? How do you get into it? What made you want to do it? I knew she was successful and she made a decent living, and that was very important.
And she was working in the AC.
And yes.
In Florida, which definitely helps.
Right. So my dad was construction, breaking his back, and and so I wanted to do something that was inside in the AC, and wanted to do something with my mind more than physical labor.
Okay.
And then, so Laura Lynn gave me an opportunity, said, hey, I kind of need a marketing person. You used to do flyers on an old publisher. You would have publisher on your screen. Not 2 screens. You only had 1 screen, one little laptop or maybe a little desktop. You had Excel, you had publisher, and you were doing all these things. It took me 3 hours to do 1 flyer.
Wow. We've come a long way with marketing.
So from there, I just started learning the business and always asked questions, always just looked. I always asked you questions when you were around, asked Laura Lynn and all the people around us at the time, and just always picked your guys' brain.
Right.
What do you do? How did you do it? What does this mean? What is an arm? I remember asking, what in the world is an arm and what do you do?
It's not this thing.
What is a margin? I have no idea. So it was good.
So how long have you been in the business, Justin?
So 15 years and counting. So August 2006. So coming up on 15 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you didn't always have a team, for a period of time you were just a single LO. Where was your mindset? Like, what made you decide, or what inspired you to be like, hey, I want to take this thing to a different level? Because you had been in the business, I'm assuming, for a number of years before you decided to do that.
Yeah. So maturity.
We were having this conversation a few weeks ago.
Gotcha. So I was always good at it, and in my early, so I got into the business when I was 22. So it's like, oh shoot, and maturity comes with it. So at first I was good at it. I knew what to do, but I kind of had fun. I wanted to go travel and do all these things with my buddies and whatever. And then I always told myself when I got married, that would be my switch of, hey, I need to be mature. You need to,
grow up. Time to grow up.
Time to grow up. Time to take care of my family. Things like that. And ever since then is when it is pretty much skyrocketed from there.
Yeah.
So maturity is a big part, at least for me, but I think for a lot of people, some way.
Yep. So I'm sure what a lot of people want to know, two things, and we need to focus on one at a time. But one, we shared you did 160 million so far this year as a team, as a branch location. What was your personal production?
Yeah, so it was about 250 units for 68 million.
Wow. So how does one close 20 loans a month? That's just your production.
Right.
So what's the secret?
Focus. So, again, it goes back to success and wanting to make money, and I will do whatever it takes to get there. There's sacrifices. So when, this year has been a little unique, market's been great, mortgage rates are great, but I knew as an opportunity that I didn't know how long it would last, and I just was focused, hitting the calls, hitting the text messages, anything I can do to drum up business. Hey, who do you know? Hey, and just start asking who, and then once you do a few loans, then it was like, oh, this guy's got great rates, do this, do that, and then it just compounded from
You
there.
definitely jumped on the refi boom.
Yes.
Yes.
Right in April, I saw that, and your pipeline just blew up, and you did a great job reaching out to past clients and friends and anybody that really could save money.
I told my wife, I'm going to work a lot of hours. I don't know how long this is going to last, but you may not see me for much right now.
Yep.
And we have a very young baby, so that there's a lot of trade-offs there, but I knew that there was money to be made, and I didn't want to lose the opportunity. I just didn't want to sit back and just take for what's coming to me. I wanted to go out and get it and be proactive.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes in our business, if you blink, it goes away. Right?
It does.
You never know how long the rates are going to continue to stay low, so you capitalized and rode that wave.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think there's two sides of that coin. One is how did you physically do it, and then the second one is like where did that business come from? Because how much of your business is purchase?
Typically, on a normal year, it's about 95%. Like, it's not much refinance. This year, it's probably been about maybe 50-50 or maybe even 60 refi, 40 purchase,
and
especially at the beginning of the year.
I think in the market that we've had here in 2020, that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, still do the math. If you were closing on average 20 loans a month and it's 50-50, you're still closing 10 purchase transactions a month. That alone is pretty good for individual production. How have you built that business over the years to have the type of volume that you have right now, specifically on that purchase business?
Sure. So I never stop on the right activities, and there's only really a few that you should really not stop all the time. So I'm not going out there and what's the next best big idea? What's this technology thing going to do? No, I call my sphere of realtors and my referral partners. I stay in touch with them. I text them. I always stay calm, which I find a lot of people like. And then I'm just very quick to know my answers. I don't, chit chat with the clients or talk about my personal. I really just get to the point, figure out, I'm always looking for their goals, and I ask the right questions. And we talked about this too. If you ask the right questions, you can uncover a lot that actually might help you in a situation or save a deal or fix a deal, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
I do, you talk about doing it and how do you do it physically? You work a lot of hours, you put the apps together, but once you get into a flow and you figure it out, I think that's really helped me. And then we figure out how does that flow work all the way through the process. So it starts with me, but I'm not doing all the paperwork or I'm not doing all the collecting. So a loan officer by themselves are like, how do you do it? Well, it's not just me, it's the team that does it. The team is collecting a lot of the documents. The team is getting it disclosed, and the team is putting it into processing. I just been the main man to put the numbers together and quickly figure out how to get them qualified.
Yeah. So for the most part, Justin, a referral comes in, you take the initial 1003, which old school.
Yeah, all handwritten. I know, I get made fun of. Yes.
Handwritten 1003. And somebody actually else inputs it for you from the handwritten, or
sometimes.
Okay.
So sometimes, yeah. if I need help.
So if you need help, somebody else inputs it, and then you go over like the product and the pricing with the borrower, and then do you ever see the loan again?
The ideal goal is no, and I would say the majority of the time is no. There are times where I might need to dive back in. Maybe something really came up unforeseen, and you got to kind of fix it. I would say 80% of the time, these things are going all the way from start to finish without me really diving too much into it, which is the ideal goal.
Yeah.
I think processes, and I always figure out how can I be more efficient. So we have a lot of email templates, to where my email might be this long, but really I just changed a name, a couple of things, and then boom, I'm done. Yeah, copy and paste or whatever. And then things that we communicate to the team is efficient, and we're just filling out some things and getting it over to them.
I think that's a great tip. If you miss that, having the email templates, because you're not writing the same thing over and over again, and to that matter, you don't have to be the one sending it either.
True.
Right? Somebody else can be sending it off the template that you've already written. That's great.
So there's a lot of different things you can do, and so I started with just myself, and then we added one team member, and it's like, okay, that's a big jump. And then from there, I've found it very easy to where now we're 12 people. I think it's even easier to kind of figure out and leverage out more.
So of the 12 people, what's the mix of the team, transaction coordinators versus LOs? So
there's 4 transaction coordinators, and then there's about 8 LOs. Everybody's in different experiences too. Or, so some have been in the business for 30 years and know a lot. There's 3 people I brought on board this year because I was finding that I was losing opportunities at refis just because I couldn't get to the people. There is, again, only so much of me.
Yeah, correct.
So imagine training 3 people in this environment, and really 4 because we got somebody in Boston. I'm training 4 people in the environment doing all that business and finding ways to train them. But the benefit was they gained me millions of dollars in business because they were simple deals, they were conventional deals. It wasn't your hardcore, and boom, let them do it and take it to closing.
Yeah, I think that's a solid strategy. You said you've been in the business for 16 years. I would imagine you do a pretty decent job at keeping a database of your past clients. And so in a season like we're in right now, that database is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And like you said, you don't have a database, this big and wide. You can't personally get to yourself. So having somebody that's almost like a refi specialist go after that business for you, they're learning the business. And when you have to shift your business, when the refis do start to slow down, you've equipped them to be able to help you do that.
So take this, for example, and this kind of puts it all into perspective. So they were kind of refis specialists, and now they're working on purchase, which is a lot more to the pieces to the puzzle. When they first came aboard, I focused them on there's a certain email that we have clients fill out. We don't take a full application. There's just these questions, and I can work up any number you need to see if you want to refinance.
See if it makes sense,
Yep. They send out the email, client responds, they work it up. I might review it and take 2 minutes, and then I say, yeah, send it out or do this and that. Then the client says, yeah, move forward, because obviously it's very easy to make a decision right now, and boom, they get it moving forward. So I've barely touched that, but yet they were touching on my database. So then they were quick to do that the last couple of months, and now we've kind of seen a little slowdown, and it's probably because of the holidays and whatnot. I'm telling them to go back to those lists. There's hundreds of people in each of their...
Hundreds.
And I'm like, not all those people did it. Some of them wanted to wait. Some of them haven't responded, and we're still finding people trickle.
Yep.
I've also told them to hold those aside if 2021 might bring even better rates. We don't know, a lot of uncertainty, but if it does, that database is already sitting there ready to be called on again.
Smart,
because people will refi again.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's
and
good.
I mean, I think in our business that it takes people 1, 2, maybe 3 times before it clicks, and they have the time to actually, respond to a call or an email from you, and they know they should have maybe 3 months earlier, but now it makes sense. We're coming out of the holiday. People are like, maybe I need to, consolidate debt, and save some money on the mortgage.
The other big piece is pools. In COVID times, nobody could do anything.
Pools are a big thing.
Now, hey, we need a pool now, right? So how can you get a pool? Cash out refi or a rehab loan or something.
Right.
So that was big. And/or, I've been training a lot on investing in real estate. So if you take some of this equity, you can actually multiply and build your wealth through investment properties too.
Smart. Talk about the marketing, your database. I mean, and how you've leveraged the marketing department that you work with, and how they've helped you stay in touch in front of people,
Sure.
as clients.
So, They put together a lot of flyers. Like right now, I'm making sure that they send out every week, right before every weekend, that I'm available over the weekend. May not be me,
That's
might be a
smart.
team member, right? And so that goes out every Friday. We're also, if there's anything unique that I see, I'll ask the marketing department to put it together, and then hey, send it out. One of them that I'm trying to put together is about rates and the difference in what your rate could have been 2 years ago versus what it would be now. Even though the market is going up, you're still probably saving a lot more because of the lower interest rate over 30 years. That difference is more than what you would pay in the difference of a higher price of a house.
So you're talking about how the lower rates versus appreciation,
Yep.
you can essentially still have that larger home for the same price.
Right, or still cheaper if you were to keep it. So let's say it goes up $40,000, okay? And I mean, but if you were able to save $60,000 in an interest rate, then you've actually gained $20,000, even though you've paid more for the house than what you would have a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So you got to look at those numbers, and that's another way. Just going back to refinance, but you could do it in purchase. If you look at the financing charges you would have saved, that can help.
I'm sure you've won several deals by just shortening the term.
Shortening the term. And I said, hey, why don't you just go to a 20-year? You're keeping the payment the same, but you just saved X amount of thousands of dollars in interest.
Right.
Like, well, sign me up. I'm in.
Yeah.
So okay.
Smart.
Yeah.
So looking at the numbers, I think it helps them share a story. And it helps them make a decision, because people say, oh, yeah, the interest rate is only that much lower. That doesn't mean a difference. Oh, well, if I said you actually are going to save $30,000, would that intrigue you a little bit more? Probably.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I think there's a segment of us out there that are only looking at it from a rate and term perspective. But when you get into like what John just brought up, hey, I'm going to move from my 30-year to a 20-year. Like if you just financed a home 2 or 3 years ago, that could be a really great option for you. And to your point, your payment could be the same or maybe even a little bit less, but you just cut like 7 or 8 years off of your mortgage. That's quite a bit of savings, Or, I think the other thing is early in the refi boom, I don't know that we were all looking at cash out the way that you're, going about it too, to invest in real estate, to buy a home. I think John,
save for college.
There's
multiple things.
Yeah.
That,
to your point, pay off some debt. I mean, we just came out of the holidays. Some people may have incurred some debt from, some Christmas presents. But there's plenty of opportunities, out there.
Kids, Daddy Santa.
The other thing too is when you talk to clients, you're not just back in the day you're just a loan officer, here's a mortgage, blah blah blah. Now again, that's where you take the extra step, is becoming more of a financial advisor. And it's I understand a lot of different tools. I understand a lot of the CPA side of the world. I understand the investment property side of the world. And then when you talk to them, if you talk to them more in a financial helping way, I think it helps. So like you're talking about paying off debt, a lot of times that might make a lot of sense. To roll it into an interest rate of 2.5% versus them paying 5, 6, 7% on whatever.
Well, shoot, a credit card.
Debt,
could
credit
be
cards,
22%.
19.9 to 29.9.
Yeah, credit cards are the death of.
No bueno for the credit cards.
Yeah, it's.
And for many people, they have great intent to get out of that debt, but they're unable to based on the a salary job and the income they have.
It's
with
like
the
a
debts
hamster
they have.
wheel.
Yeah.
It's like a
Or
hamster
COVID
wheel.
hits and your hourly wages get knocked down half until things recover. Mm-hmm.
Justin, how in the market that we're in right now, and I love how you've shared, like, hey, I put my chips into this opportunity, and that's great. But how do you maintain your core business, which is purchase, during this time as well?
Yeah, so we talk about flyers, and so a lot of this kind of merges together. So every time we get a flyer that might be a great product or an update, loan amounts increases, the maximum loan amounts, we'll share that and text that to clients. And because a lot of people, maybe they're too busy to pick up the phone, but they're okay to look at a text and say, oh, Justin shared this with me, whatever. Every time I talk to them, we've been asking realtors, hey, can we call your past clients? But we also ask, hey, how are you doing, kind of thing. And we ask about how the holidays went, different things, and you just chit chat for a quick minute. We have a very big database of referral partners, so I don't get to talk to every single one all the time. But between our marketing, always sending out flyers of different updates and different things, that's one way. Another way is text messages, and I have a follow-up system that every month or every 2 months, I try to do something to stay in touch with them. Is it a phone call? Is it a text? Maybe marketing, send an email, and I check that off for that month or whatever.
Yeah.
So you find your different ways.
So you have some sort of system in place with your referral partner database to make sure you're touching them at different intervals.
Yeah, and what I've talked to them about. Or if they refer me somebody, I'll go in and make the notes. Hey, they referred so-and-so, and maybe I chatted with them, and then boom, there's my touch.
Okay.
Different things like that.
Yeah. So check-in calls, one, hey, how are you doing? The second thing you're trying to do is find something of value that you can give to them.
Yes.
Like, hey, let me call some of your past clients for you, see if that'll help you out, or make sure you're putting marketing materials in their hands. I think right now in the market that we're in, because of COVID, it's hard for people to continue to stay visible. In our business, whether it's mortgage or real estate, your business is highly dependent on being visible. Mm-hmm. And so right now, the 100%. Only avenue that you have, not the only, but the primary avenue that you have is social media. And
or old school telephone. Pick up the phone.
I was gonna say, ask me how much I spend on marketing. But like true marketing, zero. So it's all about picking up the phone. So you market and we send out flyers and whatever, but it's all free. But I find that a lot of people don't open up email. But everybody's like, oh, I spent X amount of dollars on this or that or this new tool or this. It's like
chasing the shiny object.
Yeah, it's like no. Yeah, the shiny object doesn't work. I just do the same things, and I have been doing it consistently over the last few years, to where it became a gold mine. I never thought 2020 would be like this in many different ways, right? Yeah. Financially and business-wise good, health and a scare, that's something we never thought we would ever deal with. Yeah. But my focus has been consistent to where it turned into a great opportunity in 2020. It was perfect timing that all those has finally paid off.
Dude, I love that. I love that message. Basically, consistently doing the same activities over and over and over again. Boom, this kind of production.
But those are the activities that when I started in the business 25 years ago,
they were the same ones.
That's exactly what we did. We didn't have social media.
Right.
It was belly to belly, pick up the phone, and exactly what you're doing, Right. I mean, you're to your point on staying in touch. You're on the offense where a lot of LOs make the mistake. They're on defense, and what I mean by that is they have their top 10 agents, and they wait for the agent to call them. Mm-hmm. So they're playing defense where you have a system in place where you're intentionally reaching out. Hey, I haven't heard from Joe Smith in 2 weeks, and he's on my list, and I'm going to touch base and just do a check-in. So I mean, that's a great strategy.
So you actually brought up a good point, and I've always said this. We know, at least in our area, and I'm sure it's like this in most of the country, the average real estate agent probably does 6 to 8 deals a year, right? So that's not even one a month.
They forget who we are.
Yeah. So it's like, if you think about it, even if you had your top 30 referral partners, that's really still not that much business. So I've always said your part-time is where you're going to stay consistent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, your top agents might keep you busy here or there, but there's going to be months they're going to be slower.
Yeah.
And then they can't fill in that gap. So how do you fill in that gap? All your part-timers that all of a sudden they come up with this one deal and referred you. Yeah. Perfect. Great.
So when you look back over the last year or two, we know your numbers. I would say you've done business with well over 50 different agents.
I would say hundreds of agents.
Because you do several, like you just said, with part-time people. It might close 6 deals, maybe 1 or 2 buy sides that need financing, and you get that buy side when they need you or need the financing. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at it, you close 80 of those in a year.
Yeah. So go ahead, Justin.
And what I was going to say is, I think about why do people remember me? That 1 or 2 deals, and I find that I'm just a very. I'm telling myself here, big head. I think I'm a likable guy, right? And I get along with most personalities and most people.
Sure.
I think about that, and I think that there's some way, somehow, that within my own personality, that some people just remember me some way within that. And I don't know. I got to figure that out more, but
sure.
Well, like, pat yourself on the back. You do a great job. I mean, you know how to put a loan
But there's
together.
an agent that I haven't heard in years. He's retired. He lives on Clearwater Beach. All of a sudden, he just called me the other day and said, "Hey, I'm trying to get this $1 million deal to you." And I'm like, "Okay," but I haven't talked to him in 3 years, and that's my bad. But I'm still his guy.
Yeah. So I think one of the question I want to ask you, Justin, is how many agents are you working with regularly that send you more than 5 closings a year?
I would probably say that there are more than 5 closings. I would probably say there's only like 10 agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that many.
So 10 agents
It's
sending him
entirely
5
changed from the day when I
Yeah.
started in the business, and the mega producers did all the buy-side transactions
Correct.
primarily.
Yeah.
So when you look at that number he just gave us, the majority of his purchase business comes from an agent who sends him 1 or 2 deals a year. Right?
Yep.
Is that fair?
Yeah, and I actually, did a little Christmas thing for, some top agents and reached out to them. And I did the top 10, or maybe it was top 15. And looking back, they were only I think it was 3 or 4 transactions or more through the year. And one of my top agents loves me to death, has only sent me 8, which is interesting. She sent me about 30 pre-approvals, but only 8 turned into actually closed deals for, 2020. So it's interesting to see those numbers. And I think that's where I say the part-timers, and it's a numbers game, and that's why you don't stop. You always call a listing agent on every single deal. You always stay in touch if you don't know the buyer's agent on every single deal. Eventually those people are going to start sending you deals if you do it the right way, and then that just adds into your little bucket of all these part-timers and the fill in the gap transactions.
So Justin, not everybody's going to be a top 1% originator in the country like Justin is, right? But talk to us, that LO who's closing $5 or $6 million a year, what are some secrets or tips that you would give them that would help them be a $10 to $12 million a year producer?
So I do think the company you work for, in general, you got to look at, are you at the right company? Do they have the right tools? That kind of thing. That's one piece of the bucket. I think another is, are you really focused? Are you really willing to do everything that's needed? A lot of times the answer is no.
Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, working, showing up every day, ready to work, make your calls.
Yeah. And you kind of just honed in on something, is making our calls every single day. So like I'm talking to some of my newbies and I'm like, you guys need to be doing calls every single day. And then you start hearing, there's no excuses on my team.
But I have a problem with this, and I've got to fix this before I call
I'm
to
sorry, I
get new
did
business.
250 transactions and I'm still doing my calls, and you're doing how many transactions?
Yes.
It's not that
Right.
many.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
So I think focus, company, really finding a focus, maybe even a mentor, so like having guys like you or women, within their company. I think if they had a really good mentor, also maybe even trying to get, if there is a big team within the company they work for. So for example, me, hey, maybe they shadow us for a little bit, or, something like that to just learn, because not everybody taught me everything. It's kind of like self-learning to a certain degree on some things. So it's like, hey, this is what I found
I think
successful.
Laura Lynn did a pretty darn good job.
I think she did a good job too.
We've got to give
watching
her
this video.
a pat on the back.
Yeah, they called me the golden boy for a reason. So yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I'm a person that I don't get too much into let's go to this rah-rah thing or this thing. I have done a John Maxwell thing, and I think that's great. I've done a few others. I think they're great, but I always come back and say, well, they didn't, okay, those are great. They got me piped up, but they really still didn't give me details of how to build my business, right? But then I always go back, that's still the basics.
Yeah.
Still need to keep doing that, but how do I find a better, efficient way to do it?
Yeah. I mean, I think if, Justin's shared and said a lot of things here in the time that we've been together, but if I could just give like some brief, it is systems and models in place, and it's the little things. It's 3 or 4 things that you're doing consistently that you have a system in place for, right? And that's kind of the secret, and I think you're right. I think a lot of people...
That's the secret you see in anybody that's successful in our business. They do those 2, 3, 4 things consistently and have been for many, many years.
And you got to have a drive. If you don't have the drive, okay, that's fine. But if you don't have the drive and the focus and the intention to do it, and if you find out what your internal drive is, I didn't grow up with much, didn't have much. I remember being on food stamps at a point when my dad wasn't working. Some of those things still drive me to where, I'm successful and I have these certain things, but I always know where my roots came from, and obviously want to make sure that my kids also know that in the future too.
Dude,
You definitely have a drive. And before we leave today, I mean, you did finish your college degree, and then tell us a little bit after you got in the mortgage business. You went on to University of Florida, go Gators, right?
Yeah. Sorry, they got a good game tomorrow. Yeah, you better be watching. So I wanted to better. I always said, because when I got out of college was when the financial crisis hit. And I heard most people,
I need a backup plan.
It's like I need a backup plan, and a bachelor's degree wasn't enough.
Right.
And they're like, either people have more experience or they have a master's degree. So I always told myself I want a master's degree. So I focused on business first, for the first 10 years, and then I finally said I'm in a place where I can go to school. So I got my MBA degree. Here's an odd, funny thing.
Now you can fly there, by the way.
No, not
segue into that. How did that all take place?
So out of my MBA class, there was 44, 45 students. I just closed on my 7th deal from that class.
Nice.
Wow.
So
Go Gators.
there's always opportunity, and I'll make sure I share one little comment at the end. But I also found that I'm interested in flying. So how do you do that? It's not the cheapest thing, but it's like, wow, flying to North Carolina versus driving is like cutting
way
time.
Better.
Yeah, it's like, whoa. So I went and got my pilot's license, and now I'm working on my instrument rating, which allows me to kind of fly in clouds and certain weather and kind of thing.
So listen, awesome. I got to ask you a question. You do a ton of business
and closing a ton of mortgages.
By the way, he was making President's Club at our company while he was getting his MBA.
Yep.
Right. So he wasn't doing small business and getting an MBA. Dude was running a big business and getting an MBA.
And by the way, I think he's still cutting his own grass.
At the same time, he might be.
No. I found a cheap guide.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
But my, he's running a big business while getting his MBA. You're talking about all of these things that you're doing now, like you pushed your chips all in. You even told your wife, hey, I'm going all in this year. I don't know how long this is going to last. Dude, what kind of personal life do you have? Like, do you get to rest? Do you get to relax? Like,
That's a very good question.
What's your balance look like, I guess, is what I'm asking.
So one thing I don't do is watch TV. It's very seldom that I actually watch Netflix, or if I get into a series, it's one little series. It's not a lot of TV unless it's college football or something like that, right? I try to read books when I can. I try to focus on my family a lot. So even though I'm busy, and I do work probably till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, but I stop between 6 and like 7:30 to have dinner with my wife and my daughter, and then actually to put her to bed. So I do focus on what's important. Family life is important. And then on the weekends, I focus on certain time when I'm not working. But then we also know that, hey, Daddy's got to work for a little bit. We're going to go do some things. And then I catch up later in the evening.
Yeah. Have you taken time off, like taken some vacations? I know you went to North Carolina for a little while.
Mini vacations. Yeah, it's a little weird.
This year has been very weird. But yeah, I mean, in the past several years, business has still been great. We've been crushing it. So we go on trips to North Carolina. We've actually gone south of the Keys and stuff like that. So there's different things that we do.
So you've been able to find balance between having this big business and living the life that you want to live.
Balance is a unique word. I don't think it's not like your 50-50 balance of, hey, I work 40 hours.
Yeah, you're right. That's fair.
And I did hear something recently about this, and I think it's from Jeff Bezos from Amazon. He said there's a different word that he used, but it wasn't balanced. But you pick what's important, and you find a way to balance it within your life. Yeah. And it's not always going to be a 9 to 5, and I'm okay with that, because if I can do certain things and have a good life, then that's what I'm here for.
Still getting up early and hitting the gym, I'm sure.
I go to the gym. So here's some habits. If you want to talk about habits, I go to the gym every morning between 6 and 7. I work out 5 days a week. I bike about 30 miles over the weekend. I work, 60 to 80 hours a week. I still find time for my family. I still find time to learn things. So somebody said, when you get done with your instrument rating, are you just gonna be bored? Because you're like, I bought investment properties this year because I found that was a good opportunity. Yeah. So it's like, when you feel a slowdown, it's like, I always think, what else can I be doing? Because age comes, and I'm finding it comes, everybody says it comes quicker when you have kids and things go, progress, right? Yeah. So it's like, what can I keep doing? Because I don't want to stop, whatever it is. It's not necessarily just mortgages, but elsewhere in your life, what can you be doing? Yep. So the quote I wanted to tell you, and I forget what book I read out of it. It said, "Dear Mr. Optimistic and Mrs. Pessimistic, I drank all your water. Sincerely, Mr. Opportunist." So it was. I always think of that you always have opportunity. Don't think half glass, 50% full, empty, or whatever. Just take care of the opportunity and grab a hold of it and take it. And that's what I do.
Because it's there.
It's there. No matter what it is, it's
right.
there.
There's nothing, uniquely special about, top 1% originators. You guys just do the 3 or 4 things that everybody should be doing to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you always think through every situation, and you always try to take care of them. And customer service is a big thing. Communication is huge, no matter what it is. Your family, your work, everything, your friends, it's communication.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. Well, Justin, I appreciate you spending some time with us today. Is there anything that you would have wished we would have asked you, or anything else that you want to share with those who might be listening?
No, I'd just say find your focus. If you do want to do it, and then create plans. We didn't really talk about business plans or whatnot, but have a plan in front of you. All the things I've talked about, all the fun activities I've done or things I've accomplished have all been on a plan. And then when you go back and look at it, it's like, oh yeah, I checked this off, this off, this off.
Nice job, dude.
So it's having a plan business-wise, your numbers, your units, your team members, and finding all the right people to help whatever it is you're trying to do.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
Well, Justin, thanks for joining us today. For those of you who are watching, if you enjoyed what you saw, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, and feel free to share. On behalf of John Jones and Justin Kelly, I'm Bryan Lovell. If there's anything that you need, we're always here to serve.